On April 28, 2025, darkness descended on Spain and Portugal. A massive blackout left millions of people without power, paralyzed transportation, collapsed communications, and forced hospitals to operate at capacity. Authorities spoke of technical failures, but in a world where AI-powered cyber attacks can take down entire networks in minutes, was this just an accident or a sign of something far more dangerous? Welcome to Synthetic Secrets. I'm CN7. Today, we're going to look at what the European blackout is telling us about an invisible problem: the fragility of our most essential networks: energy, internet, and finance. We'll explore how AI is turning cyber attacks into more dangerous threats than ever before, and why the world isn't ready to face them. Get ready for an analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Think of modern society as a delicate web. Energy, internet, and financial systems are the threads that hold it all together. And if they go down, the rest comes crashing down. AI is a double-edged sword. It can attack those threads with terrifying precision, but it can also be our defense. The European blackout isn't just an isolated failure. It's a wake-up call. To understand it, we need to start where it all began. What happened that day? Let's start with what happened. On April 28, 2025, a massive blackout engulfed Spain and Portugal. Within minutes, millions of people were left in the dark, from Lisbon to Madrid, from Porto to Barcelona. It was no ordinary blackout, it was a cascading failure, like a domino effect that took down almost the entire power grid in the Iberian Peninsula. The impact was immediate. Trains stopped inside tunnels, leaving passengers stranded. Blacked-out traffic lights caused accidents and traffic chaos. Communications collapsed, with the internet and phones down, and hospitals had to use emergency generators, some of which failed after just a few hours. The economic damage was worth billions, and power was only returned to some areas after almost a day. The authorities were quick to offer explanations. The company responsible for the electricity grid in Portugal pointed to a fault in a substation in the north of the country, possibly aggravated by a storm that affected the region. In Spain, they spoke of a technical problem that spread due to the interconnection between the two countries. But these answers are not entirely convincing. Modern electricity grids are designed to deal with problems like these. They have systems to contain faults and prevent them from spreading. So why did this blackout spread so quickly? Why did the protection systems not work as they should? This is where Sin7's analysis comes in. We have no proof that this was a cyber attack, but some details are strange. The fault spread almost methodically, as if it knew exactly where to hit. Several backup systems, which should have kicked in automatically, simply did not activate. We're not saying anyone did this on purpose, but this event exposes a startling truth. Our critical infrastructure is more fragile than we realize. Power, water, communications, they're all interconnected. If one pillar falls, the rest collapses with it, like a web unraveling. And in a world where cyber attacks are becoming more advanced, this fragility is an open door to something much worse. We'll explore how in the next step. The Iberian blackout showed us how fragile our infrastructure is. But what if this fragility is not just an accident waiting to happen? What if someone, or something, is learning to exploit it in a precise and invisible way? Welcome to the new world of cyber attacks, where artificial intelligence is not just a tool. It is a weapon that evolves as it attacks. Imagine an AI designed to attack systems like power grids. By 2025, security labs have already tested programs that can do this with frightening efficiency. One example is an experimental AI called Hyperion, created to find flaws in industrial systems. Within hours, it identified weaknesses in power grids, developed custom malicious code, and learned to bypass defenses, getting faster with each attempt. Now think about it. What if an AI like this was behind the blackout in Europe? It could have caused those simultaneous outages we saw, leaving no clear traces, an attack that looks like an accident. But it doesn't stop there. AI can also coordinate mass attacks, like swarms of bots that overload systems until they collapse. Think of Stuxnet, the virus that sabotaged Iranian power plants in 2010. Now imagine a modern version, created by AI, that attacks multiple networks at once: energy, communications, transportation. Recent tests have shown that an AI can take down a simulated power grid in less than 3 minutes, much faster than any human hacker could. And what's worse, these AIs can adapt in real time, changing their tactics to avoid detection, and even self-destruct after the attack, erasing any trace. What does this mean in practice? That a single well-planned attack can cause much greater chaos than the Iberian blackout. Criminals are already selling AI tools on the black market, ready to attack infrastructure for cheap. Meanwhile, governments and companies are still trying to figure out how to defend themselves. We are in an uneven race. On one side, offensive AI that evolves quickly. On the other, defenses that take months to react. The question is not if this can happen, it's when. But there is another side to this story. AI can also be our defense. We will explore this next. We've already seen how AI can be a dangerous weapon against our infrastructure, but it can also be our greatest defense, or so we hope. Companies and governments are using artificial intelligence to protect critical networks, such as power and communications. Today, AI-based defense systems can detect attacks in fractions of a second, long before a human would notice. For example, projects in Europe are developing algorithms that isolate parts of a power grid as soon as they detect something amiss, or even create digital traps to fool attackers into thinking they're attacking the real system while they're being tracked. It sounds promising, but there's a problem. The more we rely on AI to defend us, the more complicated things become. First, these AIs are not perfect. There have been cases where they have mistaken normal activities, such as a software update or an attack, and ended up shutting down important systems by mistake. Imagine a hospital without power due to such a mistake. Second, we are creating a war of machines. On one side, offensive AIs attack. On the other, defensive AIs try to block. But what if this dispute gets out of control? Who decides how far this can go? And third, there is a greater risk. These defense technologies are in the hands of a few companies and governments. If one of these systems fails or is hacked, it could open a breach that compromises everything. And what's more, who controls these defensive AIs? Recently, the UN tried to create global rules, such as an emergency button to turn off autonomous systems in the event of a crisis, or a ban on counterattacks without human supervision. But these rules are not binding, and many countries and companies refuse to follow them, preferring to protect their own interests. This leaves us with a disturbing question. Are we building a shield to protect ourselves? Or are we simply building a mirror that reflects our own flaws and magnifies them? To answer this, we need to look at what we can actually do. Let's explore this next. We've already seen how AI can attack and defend our infrastructure, but there's an even bigger challenge. How do we protect a world where everything is connected and threats don't respect borders? The Iberian blackout proved this. A failure in Portugal could affect Spain in minutes, and if it were bigger, it could spread across Europe. Today, our power grids, water systems, and communications are interdependent, but countries still act as if they were islands. There is no global plan to deal with large-scale cyberattacks, and this is a serious problem. Studies show that most countries do not have agreements to coordinate defenses against cross-border attacks. Many power grids use incompatible systems among themselves, making it impossible to respond quickly together. And worse, when an attack happens, it takes hours, sometimes days, for nations to collaborate, while the damage is already done. Meanwhile, hackers and even rival governments are years ahead, using AI to exploit these breaches. We are locked in a race where the attacker has the advantage, and the defender is always behind. But there is a way to change this. First, we need real international cooperation. Treaties that require countries to share information about attacks in real time and to create common standards for protecting critical infrastructure. Second, we need to invest in redundancies, systems that don't rely solely on digital technology, such as analog backups for hospitals and power grids, so that a blackout doesn't paralyze everything. And finally, we all have a role. You can pressure governments and companies to prioritize cybersecurity, demand transparency, and even prepare locally, such as having a plan for your home or community in case of a prolonged blackout. The Iberian blackout was not just a technical accident. It was a warning about what could happen if we don't act together. The next failure might not be just a blackout lasting a few hours. It could be a global meltdown. It's up to us to decide. Do we wait for the worst, or do we build a more resilient future? We'll reflect on that in the conclusion. We have reached the end of our analysis. The Iberian blackout of April 28, 2025 was not just a technical failure. It was a wake-up call for the world. It showed us three hard truths. First, our critical infrastructures, such as energy and communications, are too fragile for the digital age. Second, artificial intelligence is a double-edged weapon, capable of striking with devastating precision, but also of defending us if used wisely. And third, we are not prepared. Governments, companies, and even ourselves have not yet taken seriously the risk of a major collapse. We are at a crossroads. We can ignore this warning and continue as we are, with vulnerable networks, fragmented defenses, and a race to the bottom to AI that no one controls. Or we can choose a different path, a future where global cooperation, transparency, and resilience are priorities, where no hospital or city relies solely on digital systems to survive. This is not a technical choice. It is a human choice. What do we value more? The power of a few or the safety of all? The Iberian blackout could be the moment we decide to change, or just the first chapter in a larger collapse. The decision is in our hands. If this analysis got you thinking about the future of our infrastructure, subscribe to Synthetic Secrets for more content like this. Like if you enjoyed it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment. What do you think we can do to prevent the next blackout? Or, if you've been through something like this, what was it like? I'm Cyn7, and this wasn't just a review, it was a call. Until the next broadcast.